All right, guys, so not really sure how long this video is going to be. More or less just kind of want to go over the events of the weekend and give thanks where it's due. Shout out to all the guys that were out there and things like that. First thing I want to do is shout out to Ben, Chris, and Brian. They're the guys that put on the event this weekend, Diesels at the Rock. They did everything they could to accommodate us. We got there early Friday night. It was actually during the middle of a frog drowner. It was raining cats and dogs. We got out there and dropped the trailers, me and Trevor did. We talked with them and they allowed us to block off an area so that when the rest of the guys got there in the morning, we could get our whole crowd parked together to be able to use the generator, tools, things like that, and, you know, share them amongst the crowd. Also, going into race day, I ended up, as we'll get into in a few minutes, I was running in 3 classes, and they did what they could to allow ample cool down time between passes and rounds and things like that. So shout out to those guys. You know, I know they kind of had a hard time with a couple things this weekend. As expected, it was their first event. But overall, I think the event was a success, and I really hope they do it in the future, where our whole crowd, I think, will definitely be back, along with some of the others who unfortunately missed out. Also, huge shout out to the Generales. Those guys are the track owners, and thanks to them for letting these boys put on this event. You know, an event like this wouldn't be possible, obviously, without the track's consent. So thanks to those guys. And working with us as a diesel event is a little different than most of the stuff they're used to. So they did a good job adjusting and kind of working with us. And before we get too far into things, I want to give a shout out to the guys that make this thing possible. Tim, the guys up at TRE, they're always behind us and under us, helping keep this thing going. They do more than you guys know, and we've got so many things planned for them in the future with some of the upcoming projects that we're working on that really just got to give them guys a huge shout out. Also want to thanks to the guys at Kill Devil Diesel. You know, these guys are always there when we need machine work. They help fit us in, get our jobs knocked out, and you know, do great quality work for us. Of course, we can't forget Santjer Performance, Matt Santjer. He's always there for anything he can do to help us. And of course, the input shaft there that I still haven't been able to figure out how to break, but it makes this whole thing possible. And then the rest of these guys, Calvin at CB's, he always takes care of us on our tire and wheel stuff when we need anything. Ryan tuning the truck. You know, the truck wouldn't run like it does without his hand being in it. And then Kevin, Full Send Diesel. He's always there for any of the stuff we need as far as line kits, hoses, fittings, and a bunch of random things that we run into that he's able to help us source. And last but definitely not least, huge shout out to Nathan, my oldest son. A lot of this wouldn't be possible without him. Having somebody here to help with, say, projects on this, things around the shop, bouncing ideas off of people, things to try with the truck, stuff like that, man. He's been here for me. I really appreciate him more than he can imagine. But like I said, before I got too far in the video, I just wanted to give all those guys thanks. I know there's more I'm forgetting, the guys at Kingspeed, and a ton of other guys. Just thank you guys for everything you do, not just to make this one possible, but the other trucks that we've been turning out. You know, it wouldn't be possible without y'all. So thank you guys for everything. Going into the race weekend, I'll do my best to recap and try to keep this quick. To start it out, Brent with the black Cummins that we've been helping out with. He had the truck out there. We had burned a set of the radials on it. He's doing better at getting consistent and also getting his 60 foots down and getting them consistent so that the truck can repeat passes over and over. I can't remember where his times fell, but he was in ET class, and we ended up setting his dial in at 728. And I know one of the passes following that, he was able to repeat right at a 729. So he's doing really, really good at getting consistent. The day started out with his reaction time slow. He slowly chipped away at them. Unfortunately, he was just outside of the money. He finished 4th in ET, and so he finished just outside of the money. Trevor's been doing his thing with trying to make big changes at last minute, and unfortunately this time we ended up fighting it a little bit. Nathan stayed out here late while me and Trevor were working the other night, and Nathan got the trans put back in his truck, the shifter set up. We swapped it over to a Muldoon's valve body, and the truck drove as it should, but truck's not making power like it should. Trans feels good now, but the truck's just not making power. We fought it with several different things, and we just really ran out of time to get the issues sorted out. But at the end of the day, the truck did end up making it down into the semifinals of ET where he was able to take home 3rd place and did bring home a little bit of money and a trophy. We did notice some issues. There was oil in the exhaust and also had pushed the dipstick out. It does have a locking dipstick, so we're not sure if just happens to be ironic that maybe if there's a turbo seal failure at the same time that he didn't lock the dipstick back, or if there's actually enough pressure that built up for some reason that it blew the locking dipstick out and also pushed past the seals on the turbo. So not really sure what's going on with that. That was his very last pass, so we literally loaded on the trailer and haven't got any chance to diagnose anything yet. Nathan brought Tim's truck out and he ran it with us in 670 and ended up jumping into 590 just to try to get some passes on the truck, try to get things figured out. We really fought traction with that truck at the track this weekend. One thing is the rear end is not pulling positive. So when the truck tries to spin, it's kicking out to one tire on the rear. You get one tire up front, it's still freaking 2-wheel drive. Also, when it's launching, it's lifting the front end up. And when it does, it's unloading the front tires. So traction just sucks with the truck. That was even leaving under the charger. As soon as it would come up on boost, it just instantly blew the tires off. As a lot of you guys have asked me in the past about tire choices and things like that, I'm not a fan of the M&H Race Masters when you get to a really high horsepower truck. It just seems to me that once you overpower them and they spin, you just blow them off and you lose all forward momentum. Whereas some of the Mickey Thompson tires, if you spin, you still have forward momentum. It may hurt your time a little, but you're still moving. It don't really seem to be that way with the M&Hs. So we don't know if he's just overpowered the tire. We need to make some suspension adjustments and a few other things the truck needs to be able to get it down the track and apply the power. Unfortunately, he got knocked out early because for some reason the staging limiter is stuck on now. This one is not his fault. This one here, he had been running it all day without the staging limiter and kept blowing the tires off. The limiter is set for when the truck had the single 82 on it. As I said before, we swapped it over to an 88, and he was hoping maybe if he just left really under boost that it could roll out, get far enough out to light and go, and use the staging limiter one time, and now it's stuck on. And we don't have the laptop or any of that stuff with us to be able to erase the file and load a new one. So the day was ended early because of that. AJ had his truck out. I don't think he had too bad of a day. Unfortunately, it just happened to be that me and him paired up in the first round of eliminations in 670. And so, lucky for me, I knocked him out. Unlucky for him, he was on the trailer early. But as a positive note, his truck did drive to and from the event. Had no issues. I don't know, I think horsepower calculators are putting his truck at that weight somewhere just over 1,100 horsepower, stock bottom end, 300,000 miles, and made a trip that's, I don't know, maybe 400 or 500 miles round trip. I don't know how far it was. So, you know, the truck's working, truck's doing its thing. Just a little bit more practice and it'll be deadly in 670. And then we'll get to my hunk of junk here. So weekend started. I had planned on doing my thing in 670 and ET, as I've been doing a lot at like truck wars and events like that. Went into the day, first round of qualifying, lined up with Brent. Ran the truck as I normally would, tune 3, ran it out 4,800. I accidentally shifted a little bit late on the 2.3. It hit the limiter one time, and when it did, it killed my time. It did like a 690. We came back and I saw in the staging lanes with the 590 guys, which in the end was only Trevor. So I went and talked to the guys putting on the event and said, hey, look, you know, can a couple more of us get in on this to, you know, help fill the class out? And they said, sure, you could do whatever we wanted to. So a few of us got in with him, and ended up, it was me, Nathan, Brent, and Trevor, and we all got in it, put the truck on tune 4, shifted at 4,500 RPMs to try to get a little bit more torque in it, see if it would go a little faster, and the truck went 677. So I don't know if I was fighting the air quality up there. The track wasn't prepped the best. Also, me and Buddy were talking, it looks like there's only like 100 feet of concrete on that track after that was asphalt. Concrete tracks are known to be faster, so don't know if that was affecting me some. Don't know if I've got a boost leak. Don't know if there's something else. Regardless, all of it combined, the truck just wasn't making the power it normally does, but I was still able to get on the number. First round of qualifying in ET, I skipped out on. I just rolled down the track easy. Didn't want to put any more heat in the truck than I had to. Long story short, as the day goes on, I had to run Nathan first round of 590. He had an issue with the truck, and I ended up getting the win on that. And Trevor ended up losing to Brent. It was me and Brent in the finals. and Brent just edged me out by a bumper, and he got the win. So I took home second in 590. In 670, I went through, and I don't know how many trucks there were, maybe a dozen, and went through the end of the day. It ended up being Brent and myself yet again in the finals, and he still again edged me out. Both of us had good reaction times. Both of us made a good pass. I spun just a little bit on the line. It was the only pass I spun all day long, and went a 680 to his 671 or 72 or something like that. So, you know, we both had a good pass. At the starting line, it looked a whole lot worse than it was, because by 100 foot, his truck is out on me a whole truck length, and then I'm mile an hour and him down on the top end. But again, we finished bumper to bumper, and he got the win. Not upset with how the day went at all. I'm happy for Brent. The truck did awesome for him, and we had a pretty good day as well. Truck's in one piece. The truck doesn't have any issues that we know of yet. We're going to look everything over the off season, obviously. But we're pretty much done for the year racing. So plenty of time to look things over, make any improvements that need to be done, things like that. But yeah, that pretty much sums up our weekend. Big thanks to Buddy and Chris. Those guys came out. They weren't racing anything. They came to just help out everybody from our local crowd. Like I said, a lot of us brought home money and trophies. It was a good event. We had a blast. And here goes the trophies they had for up there. Pretty neat trophies. Be something cool to hang on the wall with some of the other ones. Pretty neat. Huge thanks to the guys yet again that put on the event. And we'll definitely be back.